Then it's a coin flip for me. To be perfectly honest, it depends like how I get out of bed in the morning. Basically, I might have taken Caleb there, but I might have taken Jefferson there. I can't really be sure.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Freaks. I'm Jason, he's Vaz, and today we're going to go over a mock draft for Dynasty leagues. And we did a mock draft with some members of our channel as well as some friends. And we want to show you how the draft went and then go over some of the picks that other people made, as well as some of the picks that we made and how satisfied we would be with those picks. Vaz, we took some time to do this and I really had a great time. How did you feel about just the draft overall? It's been a while for me to do like a dynasty mock.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a draft goes without trading, it was a whole lot of fun. For me, trading makes dynasty, so a draft without trading is not a real draft. But it was fun to do a mock. As you said, it's been a while since we've done a start. I've done a startup myself, so I was really excited to do it, and I had a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think typically when you do a slow draft that's got at least a few hours in between picks, or, at least if you're all together, maybe where you can constantly do trades, it's definitely more fun than the draft that we did, where you basically had 2 minutes to make each pick. So, still a great time by all means, and it's very educational because you get a better feel of what the community thinks about each player. So without further ado, let's get into the draft. I'm going to flash up the board so everybody can see each and every one of the picks. Vaz, you chose sixth in here. You chose seventh, while
Yeah.
I chose sixth. So if we look back on the draft, I chose Burrow at sixth overall. In this draft, we actually did a 10-team SuperFlex Dynasty, and note that we're doing this for that format, so that's why the picks might be different than what you might think in some of the other different formats for it. So I picked Joe Burrow at sixth overall. You took Jefferson. I think when it comes to drafting, I don't think anyone actually makes a great pick, because I think the community of people, they allow you to make a great pick because they didn't take somebody. If you take Mahomes at 4, you didn't make a great pick to get Mahomes. The, one or two people in front of you screwed up and allowed you to have a guy like Mahomes at 4, as an example, just saying. So I guess my question would be, how satisfied are you with the pick that you got? Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, you got Jefferson at 1.7. Are you thrilled that you got him at 1.7, or looking back on it, are you disappointed? How satisfied would you be with the Jefferson pick?
Okay, yeah. So the way you phrase that, like people in front of you screw up, and that's what makes a great pick. I mean, I agree with that. And if your question is from a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel about my Jefferson pick? The answer is a 10. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, and I'll explain why. For me, honest to God, uh, it would be hard for me to do it, but in my opinion, he's the 101 overall in this format. I think everybody in front of me screwed up. I think quarterbacks went way too early in this draft, and I think it's a lesson to understand your league format first and foremost. Okay, we were doing a 10-team league, a 10-team Superflex league. Listen, in a 10-team league, quarterbacks are not nearly as important as they are in a 12-team league. It's not even close. Listen, there's 10 teams in your league. There's 32 starting quarterbacks. That means everybody should have at least three, more than three starting quarterbacks on their roster. There's just not like a high need for quarterbacks in this type of format. It's a PPR format. Justin Jefferson is going to score more points than probably half of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. For me, he's the 101. It'd be really tough for me to make that pick. So I'm happy I got him at 7. And for me, it's a 10 out of 10 selection. But yeah, I even was the last one to draft a quarterback, I think in the 7th round. And looking back, that was my biggest mistake, was taking one too early. And I took one in round 7. So I feel pretty firmly in that quarterbacks should be drafted much later in this format.
Yeah. Okay. So I think first off, I think you're absolutely correct, and I took Burrow in front of you, but based on what you're saying, absolutely, I fully agree with you. The only thing that I'll say, I'm pretty sure this is what everyone else was thinking as well, is that I think people were drafting this as if it were a 12-team league. We originally wanted it to be a 12-team league. We ended up making it a 10-team league, and I think I would imagine that that's probably the reason that most people did. It certainly was the reason that I took Burrow over Jefferson. So then my question would be, if this were a 12 team rather than a 10 team, um, would you still have taken Jefferson there? Or would you have taken Caleb if it were a 12 team?
Then it's a coin flip for me, to be perfectly honest. It depends like how I get out of bed in the morning, basically. I might have taken Caleb there, but I might have taken Jefferson there. I can't really be sure. But I don't know. I kind of disagree with you. I don't think people drafted as if it was a 12-team league. It was clearly a 10-team league. Everybody understood the format before we started. So it was a 10-team league, and I think a lot of guys made mistakes. I think even Boyle, who drafted a 101, took three quarterbacks to start. Like massive, massive mistake. So he had an awful draft. I think everybody that drafted in like the first five picks, I disliked their draft because they went quarterback heavy.
Honestly, like I drafted it as if it were okay. I drafted it sort of as if it was a 12-team league, but
But you
then
shifted gears as well because I
well,
like the way you drafted, and you didn't take your second quarterback till much later.
yes and no. Like because I felt that the value, like the quarterbacks were going early, even if it were 12. Well, I'll get into that in a bit. Okay, actually, better yet. So on my second pick, okay, I took AJ Brown. Okay, so I could have taken Herbert there. I could have taken Kyler Murray. Probably should have taken Jordan Love. If it were a 12 team, if it were a 12 team. Okay.
Okay.
Would probably be the correct value. But I just felt that I was kind of deciding between Love and Brown, and I felt that it might have just been a little bit early for Love, whereas I felt that Brown was the best floor play at that moment, which is why I took him. But I was actually thinking sort of more of a 12 team rather than okay, this is a 10 team. I'm not going to take quarter because like you're absolutely correct. If I was thinking of this as a 10-team league, I absolutely would have taken Jefferson with the 1-6 instead of Joe Burrow. So like there was a side of me that was considering this as well. I want to play this out like a little bit as a 12-team league. But yeah, it was kind of a little bit messed up in that way. But let's go on to my third pick because at that point I take the first tight end off the board at the sixth pick of the third round. How did you feel about that pick? And then my question to you would be because you took Neighbors the very next pick. He was the guy that I was considering there. Had I
Hmm.
taken Neighbors at 3-6, would you have taken Laporta at 3-7?
Just taking a look at the board now. I probably would have taken Laporta.
Yeah.
I'm happier to have Neighbors because
Yeah.
my draft strategy is to hit that tight end in like a couple rounds later, not grab Laporta and grab a tight end who I think is equal, like pretty much equal value to Laporta. Not equal, but like slightly less value to Laporta, but I can get him considerably later, like probably two full rounds later. So I would have taken Laporta if you had taken Neighbors specifically. But
Yeah.
if you hadn't have taken Neighbors and I had Laporta and Neighbors available to me, I think I would have probably taken. Well, I definitely would have taken Neighbors, but I wonder if Laporta was there, if I would have gone Laporta or Odunze. That's a really tough decision for me. I'm really not sure, but I probably would have taken Laporta. Yeah,
Yeah.
if that's
In the fourth round, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I ended up taking Jalen Waddle with the fifth pick of the fourth round. I was hoping a Dunze would land there. I was hoping for it. He did not. You would have picked in front of me anyways. You ended up with Olavi. Would you have taken Odunze there instead? Because I
oh
was
yeah,
thinking there's no
certainly.
way Odunze was going to get to me. That was my mentality. So I was already thinking, who am I going to? I would love to get Odunze here. You're picking in front of me. There's no way that he's going to get to me. Who should I pick instead? So I was already planning to get Waddle because I was thinking that if Odunze is there, you're going to take him ahead of me.
And you knew I wasn't taking Waddle.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to take Olave though. Like I really like Olave. He's a very, very talented player. So I'm more than happy with Olave. I would have taken Odunze over Olave, but it's very, very close for me. So it's not an issue. I will say that with your second overall pick, AJ Brown, I love AJ Brown. Great, fantastic player. Maybe like one of the best receivers in football. But I'm a little bit hesitant to make a pick like that in round two because you kind of immediately set yourself up as a competing roster. So I prefer to grab like a younger player in round two. So I still leave myself with some flexibility. So I can go in any different direction. I can go competing. I can go like a rebuild kind of productive struggle way if I want. I leave myself open to different opportunities there. So I don't really love taking AJ Brown in round two. But that being said, like he's the right pick. He's a good value there. I think he's a great player.
Yeah, like okay, so as an example, I was asking you how satisfied were you on a scale of 1 to 10 with Jefferson. So
Yeah.
when I took Burrow, I certainly was not a 10, right? Like that was a pick
Yeah.
that was kind of like, oh man, like, and this is once again, I'm thinking this as a 12 team. Is Burrow the guy that I wanted? Not really. Like I was hoping that I would end up with Hurts there. So in that sense, I was maybe like a 5 or a 6. Like when I made that pick, I was like, okay, I guess this is the pick that I have to take. Should I take
Yeah.
Jefferson? I thought about it. I was like, nah, like if I'm thinking a 12 team, then I want to take Burrow here. With Brown, once again, that was not the player that I wanted because you took Harrison, the pick before me. You sniped him. I knew you would. But yeah, Marvin Harrison was the guy that I wanted. And to me, I think there was a big drop off from Harrison down to Brown. So that was not the pick that I want to make. Once again, I was thinking like, it's like a 4 or 5. Like maybe I should have taken Jordan Love in hindsight. Like, I start thinking that way. So then my question would be, as you mentioned that pick, who do you think I should have taken? Like Wilson or London, maybe?
Yeah.
Or
So
would you,
like
or maybe even
there's
Neighbors?
an interesting thing to mention here. Like so I don't think there's any way Marvin Harrison falls that far in a standard draft because somebody's going to trade up for him. Like if he starts to slide like that. So like I think in a normal draft, you probably move up to like the pick before me to grab Marvin Harrison or somebody else does because I think a lot of people really are really high on him.
Yeah.
But to answer your question,
Because I didn't
I'm
want
look
to take Bijan Robinson or Brees Hall because I didn't want to take a running back that early, no matter
yeah.
what, whether it was a 10 team or a 12 team.
Yeah. So I guess your decision for me, it's yeah, like you said, between like Garrett Wilson, Drake London, AJ Brown. In that situation, like I mean, I'm going AJ Brown myself. I just think he's much better than them. I don't as I also don't like taking Bijan or Brees that
Yeah.
early, but I think I do take either of them over AJ Brown
Okay.
personally.
If this were a 12 team, would you have taken Jordan Love over AJ Brown?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
questions asked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's once again like so in hindsight, I was kind of okay. If this was a 12 team, then I would see that as maybe a mistake pick. So that's why, I rate my AJ
I don't
Brown
think it's
pick.
a, I don't think it's a mistake at all.
Okay, well, yeah, I think
I
it's a
think Jordan Love would have been a mistake.
for a 10 team.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
did.
Yeah,
So let's not pretend this is a 12 team. This is a 10 team mock draft.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, I think for the purposes, I think some people, like I said, to a certain degree, myself included, I was kind of drafting it like a 12 team. So,
I don't know why you
what?
would.
Well, because it was a mock, right? So, I'm trying to get
Yeah.
information rather than competing. If this was for money or something, then absolutely I would have drafted it differently than I did. The biggest question I had for you was your back-to-back picks of tight ends in the 5th and 6th rounds. I think you knew this question was coming eventually. You took Bowers and then you took Hawkinson. It's not a tight end premium. It's not a 2 tight end league, but you still took 2 premium tight ends. Why did you do that in that early?
All right. Well, let me just say, like, my first six picks, I absolutely love. I feel like I crushed my first six picks. And then I think things kind of fell apart after that. So to answer your question, like, listen, for the most part, I just drafted the best player on my board, like the best value at that time in the draft. And it just so happened that at that time in the draft, tight end was the best value for me. And I have no issues taking two premier tight ends in rounds 5 and 6. We have two or three flex spots in your in most leagues, there's no reason you can't start these guys. They're very startable. And then if you do get an injury to tight end, you don't have to worry about it. You have a very capable one to play right away, right? So, and then with so few elite tight ends, there's always a market for one of them. So like if I wanted to trade one, why not? Like I don't go into a draft thinking I need to like fill out every position so that I can, I'm ready to compete. No, I'm taking the best value on the board when I'm up at that pick. And in this situation, these were both the best value on the board.
Okay. So this was a question I wanted to ask you eventually, is when you drafted this team, and you alluded this to this a little bit, is did you draft this with the mindset of I'm going to win this year, or is
No.
it more the mindset of I want to be competitive for as long as possible?
No, I approached this mock as I would approach any startup. I went, with youth over production and value over production as well. So I tried to make the best value pick at every point, and I did make a mistake in round 7. I think I went quarterback too early. I probably panicked a little bit with being the only team without a quarterback, and but I should have stuck to my guns, knowing that there would be some very strong quarterback value later. Because my biggest regret was going JJ McCarthy over JSN. So I wish I had taken JSN in round 7, and then I would have ended up fine at quarterback anyways with the guys I got later. So yeah, that was my biggest regret, pretty much my only regret. But I didn't hit running back until like the second or third last round in the draft. So I know I'm not competing year 1. That's not my plan. My plan in this situation would be to compete starting year 2, and I think I've got a team to do that. So I'd probably finish in the bottom couple teams in this first season. I think if I had drafted a couple running backs, like I really liked your pick of Isaiah Pacheco, I think in round 8.
I
I think
love
if I had
that
taken
too.
yeah, I think if I had taken Isaiah Pacheco instead of Deshaun Watson or something like that, then I probably could compete for a playoff spot year 1. But it's okay. In most leagues, I want to kind of tank, year 1 and end up with a good draft pick in the next year, and then like start from year 2 or at the earliest. Usually, that's usually my plan.
Okay,
And
so
in a normal league, I would have started really trading for future picks starting in round 7.
yeah, because I was thinking, okay, like we've done videos on the productive struggle, which you can search on our channel. But typically, when you're doing the productive struggle, you're trading and you're trading back and you're trading for first round picks and stuff like that. But like it's almost as if you're trying to do the productive struggle without trading in terms of not taking running backs, in terms of, well, in this case, you didn't take quarterbacks because of the 10-team format, but you're going very heavy on the receivers for the most part.
Well, yeah, I went heavy on the receivers because listen, that's what's going to be league winners in this format. That's the most valuable position in this format. It's a PPR format, 10-team league. Quarterbacks are not going to be valuable. And then it's not tight end premium as well. But I got 2 good tight ends, so it's not an issue. But yeah, of course, like I hammered receiver for the first 4 rounds because I know that's where the value is. There will be value at running back as well. Of course, there always is in any fantasy league. Even a 10-team format. So there will definitely be some value at running back. But as you know, I typically like to hit running back last with my dynasty teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that for the Dynasty format, just because their shelf life is so short. And I thought that I was the last one to take a running back in the 8th round when I took Pacheco, because I was trying to wait on that to build up the future of my team as well. And at that point, I was actually thinking as well, like, I want to load up my teams with young guys so that I can pivot either way. So if I want to go into a rebuild at some point, then I could choose to do that. If I want to compete, or if my team's doing well, then I can choose to do that as well. So that's why I kind of deliberately held off on running back. And like I said, I thought I was the last guy to take a running back in the 8th round. You were the last one to take the running back in the 13th round. So I wasn't even close to where you were, but we were the last 2 teams to take a starting running back. You mentioned that you liked Pacheco. I couldn't believe that I got him in the 8th round like that. So I asked you earlier about how good of a pick was that. I don't think you make a good pick. It's just that people allow a player to slide down that far. I would say I was at least an 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of my satisfaction with him being available to me there in the 8th round. He really doesn't have competition for touches, I believe, in Kansas City because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is pretty much the next guy there, and he's never really shown that much. Pacheco's done great. I couldn't believe that he was taken as late as he was for being as young as he is as well.
Yeah, I did write down some of the picks I really, really liked, and there are a couple of yours, Pacheco being one of them. I think I've noticed that in the past few dynasty startups I've done, running back slide. I think a lot of teams, a lot of owners do have the mentality to wait on running back, that like their shelf life is pretty short. So that's the last position you want to hit. So I have noticed that running back slide typically. So I'm not that surprised, but I agree. It was a great pick. The other pick I really loved that you made was Jordan Addison at 7-6.
Yeah, yeah, no, love that as well. Okay, let me ask you about this because I thought I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I definitely would have taken Pacheco ahead of Cook as well as Rashad White. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would as well. I think,
Okay.
yeah, definitely over Cook. There's no question about that. I do like Rashad White as well, but I think yeah, Pacheco's a better player on a better offense, so I would have as well preferred Pacheco over White. But I think they are pretty close in my overall rankings.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned that you liked some picks and you wrote them down. You mentioned Addison Pacheco for me. What were
Yeah.
some of the top picks that you felt really fell in value and you couldn't believe that they ended up going as late as they did?
Okay, well, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I'll mention mine first. We already
Okay.
talked about Jefferson, but also Marvin Harrison Jr. was, in my opinion, a great pick.
Yeah.
And then the other pick I really liked was Hawkinson in the middle of round 6. You know, he's my tight end too, so to grab him there, I was very happy about that. And then, like as I said, I didn't really love my draft after round 6. I think it was just all right. But some other picks I really liked. I liked JSN at the top of round 8.1. I mean, you know, I'm high on him, so I really liked him. And then I wanted to take him in round 7 where I took JJ McCarthy, but as I said, I kind of choked there. I think I
Jumped
was a
the
little bit
gun.
paranoid. Yeah, I was a little bit worried, that people would hit quarterbacks more than even though I kind of knew it'd be smart to wait even longer, but I waited at that point, so I decided to take a quarterback. And then I also liked Rashee Rice in the middle of round 8, 8.8. I really liked that pick. I think it was good value. And then Javonte Williams at the end of round 11, I thought was a good pick as well. I think he's got a chance to rebound this year. A year removed from the injury. I think he's capable of having a very good year and being productive. So to get him that late at the end of round 11, I think it's a very good pick.
Yeah, it was late. I am a little bit concerned for Williams just because I just don't think that Denver's going to be a very good team, and I
Right.
like my running backs to be on good teams rather
No, no, for
than
sure. But
yeah. But I
end of
think
round 11.
yeah, the point that you're making is that he was taken as late as he was because yeah, certainly round 11 for what could be a bell cow running back. He could be a 3 down running
Yeah.
back, possibly. So to get something like that as late as that certainly is a great benefit. Um,
I'd also like to mention that I did really like all of the picks made by like the back end teams, like the teams that hit receiver at the end of round 1 or early round 2. Like guys that took like Puka or CeeDee Lamb or anybody like that, right? Jamar Chase. I think those were excellent values because I do believe they all should have been at the top of round 1 rather than at the back of round 1.
all right, let's not get into too many of these, but um, were there any shocking players or who were like your players that you thought went too early? Because as I was saying, I don't think you make great picks. The league allows you, affords you like a great pick, but I think you can make bad picks.
Yeah.
And if you look on some of the reaches, ideally beyond the quarterbacks going too
Right.
early. What did you think was a little bit of a reach?
Yeah, I could probably name every single quarterback drafted.
Yeah.
But so I'll try not to do that. But I will mention a few in particular. I thought
Okay.
Anthony Richardson at 2.2 is way overdrafted. Even if it was a 12-team format, I think he's still overdrafted at 2.2.
So there's other quarterbacks that you would have taken ahead of him.
Yeah,
Would that be a fair?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
for
then,
example, Jordan Love,
for
Kyler
example,
Murray.
Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, exactly.
Okay.
Um,
How
but
about
yeah, like
Jaden Daniels?
I think they're probably similar range for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
But I also have Jaden Daniels on my list. And that's mostly because it was his third quarterback. He went quarterback, quarterback, quarterback to start in a 10-team format. And I got to roast him for that. It's an unbelievably terrible strategy.
I think you mentioned that in the chat as soon as the pick was made. It was like,
Yeah.
thanks, because now you just gave me some bullets for the video.
Oh, I certainly did. Yeah. Okay, I'll try to stay away from quarterbacks now, but there
Sure.
there are a few other guys I want to mention. I thought three running backs in particular I thought were drafted a bit too early. I think Etienne, A-Chain, and Saquon all went in round 4, and for me, that's a little bit too early. I think Saquon's not bad at the end of round 4 if you're going win now. Still, for me, it's a little bit too high. I mean, he's getting up there and he's slowing down. I don't like A-Chain at 4.7. I think, he's a committee back for his career. He's probably only going to get 10 to 15 touches per game. So for me, that's way too high. And then A10 went at 4.2, like in the same range as big boys like CMC and Jonathan Taylor. So I thought that was a little bit high as well.
Okay. Although Taylor and CMC were the end of round. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, no, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. He went like 2 picks after Taylor.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, like,
yeah.
I already don't like drafting running backs early. So to see these guys go off in round 4 when there's very elite receivers on the board and top tier tight ends as well, I think I just really dislike those picks.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I like for me, I would say the pick that went too early would have been James Cook for me. But ETN certainly being that close. I didn't realize he was taken that close to Taylor.
I mean, you can
Um,
get Pacheco at the end of round 8. Why not hammer those
yeah,
elite receivers early and grab some, useful running backs later on?
yeah. No, I can agree with that because I have Pacheco kind of in those guys' range, and
Yeah.
I got him like 4 rounds after them. I thought Barkley I thought was okay at the end of 4. It's considerably later, but Achan and Etn maybe a little bit early compared to some of the other receivers, like you said, that were available. Any others that stand out to you?
I mean, not really. I could mention quarterbacks all day, like Dak going at the top of round 4, when you could grab like an elite receiver. You
Yeah.
can grab Olave or Odunze or something like that. Just wait on the quarterback in a 10-team format. Like the biggest takeaway for me here was, listen, I'm never gonna play in a 10-team format. It's just so lame. If you're in a 10-team league, don't overvalue quarterbacks because you see that, all these YouTube guys draft quarterbacks early. Don't think that's the way to go. It's not the way to go. It's
Yeah.
not. There's just too much value quarterback late in the draft.
Fair enough. Let's talk about some of your later round picks. You took Levis as well as Fields. I guess Nixon McCarthy as well. But like in terms of your quarterbacks that you did take late, why Fields over, let's say, a guy like Howell, who looks like when I look at Sam Howell, the reason I made that pick at the end of the draft is I feel like they gave up significant draft capital to go and grab him, and he really seems to be the heir apparent to Geno. I just feel like he's got a job. It's like I feel like he's kind of in the Michael Penix situation where they feel that he's going to be the guy unless he really screws up in practice over the next season. But what were you thinking with Fields there over Howell? I know a lot of people still like Fields over Howell, but just your thought process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I value him over him. I think I just like it's an upside pick at the end of a draft. I don't know what's that, round 16 or something. Listen, like we know that Fields has immense upside. If he gets a starting job, he's going to increase in value like exponentially, right? Because he's got that rushing ability. He's got that, fantasy game breaking ability. He could be a quarterback 1 overall. Like, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities with how good he is on the ground. So like he's immensely talented, and I think he wasn't given a fair shake in Chicago. I don't think that this is the end of his career. I really don't. I believe in him. I just believe in the guy, and I think at this late in the draft, I'm going upside here. If he lands a starting job, he's going to increase in value immensely. So for me, it's an upside pick. Sam Howell for me does not have that same type of upside at all. So round 16, I'm shooting for the moon.
Sure. Yeah. Like, okay, so I'm just gonna think out loud some of the things that bother me about Fields. And I know you're high on him. But what bothers me about Fields is it's a small little thing, but when he was traded to Pittsburgh, there was a clause in that trade that said if he starts a certain number of games, I think it's 8, then Pittsburgh has to give up a higher draft pick to Chicago. So there is
Yeah.
something where it's almost as if Pittsburgh has incentive not to start
Okay.
Fields, right?
I think I
So
should stop you because they traded for him for a sixth round pick, right? So I don't imagine that clause is for like a second round pick. It's
no,
probably
I
for a
think it
fifth
was a
round
fourth.
pick.
I think it was a
Okay.
fourth. Yeah.
I mean, listen, if he gives them the best chance to win, they're going to put him in there at the expense of a fourth round pick. You know, they're not worried about that. And that's just for one season, Jason. We're talking about round 16 here. This is not I'm not taking Justin Fields because I want him to start next year. He's the fifth quarterback on my team in this mock, right? It's just an upside pick. I don't think his career is over. I think he's going to get another shot. And if he takes advantage of it, you know what? He's got an immense upside. So, I'm not concerned about that. And if it ends up being a throwaway pick, it's okay.
Yeah, like you said, so it's not like you wouldn't want him to be like the second quarterback on your team, but if it's a guy
No.
that can, yeah, go up and value and something that you can peddle later on or get huge value for, it's worth a lottery ticket, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
exactly.
Any other things that you wanted to discuss based on the draft or some of the picks that were made anywhere on the board?
Maybe I'll just give a shout out to some of the teams that I thought had drafts. One was yours. I really liked your draft. I thought you did very well. I think for the most part, if you avoided taking quarterback early round one, I ended up liking your draft. But I really liked Korean Blast's draft. I think he drafted at the end of the draft in the 10 spot. I also liked Aaron Burgundy. I thought he had a bunch of great picks. So yeah, I think if you avoided taking quarterback early, you ended up with a pretty solid team, especially if you hammered wide receiver early. I think a lot of guys that waited at wide receiver I didn't end up liking their teams.
All right, fair enough. There it is. That was a mock draft that we recently did, and there is the board. I will have a picture of this entire board up in our Facebook group. So if you join our Facebook group, then you can go there and see exactly all the picks like this as is. Also note that Vaz and I both have our cheat sheets up on our Facebook group as well. So you can go there and take a look at our rankings on how we value each of the players. Those rankings are for a 12-team Dynasty startup. Of course, this was a 10-team Dynasty startup. Otherwise, yeah, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on another edition of Fantasy Football Freaks.